Thank you very much. Lovely to be here. And I should tell you, it's not only me that wears a cape around the office, right? We have actually got a cape drawer as you walk in the room as the office, and on regular occasions we do dress up in our capes. So today, my talk is about saving the world using gamification. So first of all, hands up. Who thinks the world would be a better place if we played more games? Who thinks we could save the world if we had more gamification? So it's clear that we all love games, right? We're gamification experts. And that's why we're here today, to discuss the power of gamification and how it can make the world a better place. The unfortunate reality is, having been in the gamification market for as long as we have at Growth Engineering, that there has been, to a certain extent, a bit of disappointment in terms of where gamification has actually got within the market that we serve at Growth Engineering. So within the learning technologies, it was a big, big buzzword 10 years ago. And that's what I found really fascinating about Pete's talk or conference this year, because it was all about the future of gamification. And I really do think that, even Gartner have come out and said that gamification within the learning environment has certainly kind of failed to meet expectations. So although at a theoretical level, we believe that gamification should engage, empower, and all of that kind of thing, the reality is that most corporates, and certainly most education establishments that have tried to put in gamification, it has somehow failed. So the purpose of my talk is to talk really about how we as Growth Engineering have learned how we can put in gamification, because it is fun, it is awesome when we do want to do it, but how does it actually work on a practical level to deliver what Andrew was saying yesterday, which is all about return on investment, okay? So that's really what I'm going to talk about today. So my goal is to really, speak very candidly about the issues that are involved in gamification, yeah? And really share some of the learning we've got in terms of overcoming it. Because the reality is that the gamification market is growing, right? So, you guys all stuck your hands up and you said, yep, gamification is going to make the world a better place. It truly is, yeah? But if we get it right, and if we understand how gamification works vis-a-vis brain science, yeah? Vis-a-vis human motivation, and most importantly, for the market that we serve, how gamification can be applied to education to really make it stick. So to do that, we need to understand gaming mechanics, gamification, but we also, most importantly, need to understand education and how education turns into behavior. So who are we? We're Growth Engineering. We've been around for 16 years. We have clients all over the world, and essentially we provide learning technologies platforms. So we have a learning management system, we have micro mobile apps, and we have a game-based authoring tool called Genie. And we've been developing those for many, many years and sell them to many of the largest companies in the world. And the problem we set out to solve when we first started the company was very clear. Education is boring. Corporate education is boring. Hands up, how many people have done a piece of e-learning and they came off it and they go, you know what, that is the best damn thing I've ever done? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, 2. So the issue here is that we're born curious, okay? You wake up every single day and you're like, wow, what am I going to do today? Who am I going to call? Let's check out social media. We are curious, okay? But the education that we receive, not only in schools, but from a corporate point of view, kills our curiosity, okay? It absolutely kills it dead. And the question is why? When we're born curious and we want to learn, and we know that the biggest sign of aging is when we stop wanting to learn, surely we should be able to overcome this problem. So these are just a selection of our clients, all around the world. We've been working at this problem with our clients for a while and produced some really good results. So I know this is a gamification conference, but the question I wanted to answer with this talk is, how do we make gamification really work in order to get the return on investment? And for that, I need to explain to you how learning works, okay? Now, the issue of corporate learning and the issue of education is very much that we focus, this is Bloom's taxonomy. How many of you know Bloom's taxonomy? Okay, great. So it's a pyramid, and the issue is that we believe, and corporate education certainly, gets stuck on the first three. Watch this video, do this piece of e-learning, I'm going to give you this piece of knowledge. Then I'm going to ask you, I'm going to test you, right? Comprehension, right? And then doesn't really get up to 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's how we get behavior change. So usually what happens in organizations is they will send out a piece of e-learning, or they will do a campaign. So recently we were talking to GSK, and they just rolled out an information security. They'd spent £1 million on it. They then got Roehampton University to go in and check the results, check the behavior of what had happened to their global staff after they spent this money. What they found is that only 1% of all the people had actually changed their behavior. And that was because it was done as a campaign and it wasn't reinforced over time, okay? So you can have the best content, it can be gamified in the best way, but the reality is if people aren't creating new knowledge, evaluating new knowledge, and analyzing what they've learned, it won't stick, okay? So when we're doing a gamified strategy, it can't be a moment in time. It can't be one game. There needs to be stuff after that in order to get the return on investment. Because the reality is that the forgetting curve, who's familiar with the forgetting curve? Hopefully most of you. The reality is that what I'm saying now, you will have forgotten in 7 days, okay? Unless it is reinforced. Unless you are allowed to be part of a community and that is being reinforced and you're analysing it and you're asking more questions on it. You're thinking about it further. This is the way the brain works. No matter how exciting the gaming mechanics are, no matter how exciting the narrative of the game is, the reality is if you're not playing it on an ongoing basis, it won't make any impact. And the other thing is that motivation can be really, really hard. So Betty was talking about this the other day. This is the SelfDetermination Theory. Within learning, you have to know that you're competent in order to want to be part of or to continue to play the game, right? You all know when you played Monopoly, if you feel like you're going to lose, you get very disheartened, right? You want to be part of the pack. You want to roll with pack. So competency and skills are very, very important, not only in terms of gamification, because you don't want to fail, but also in terms of learning. You won't participate if you don't. The other thing that we want to do is we want to put it in the context it is. So if we're trying to change behavior, if we are trying to get people to behave in a different way, we need to put them in a related community so they can discuss and talk about their knowledge, right? So they have to have something to relate this to. And the third thing is autonomy, and this is becoming a bigger and bigger part of a lot of workforces today. So unless I have got a voice within that community to be able to express myself, to be able to play with that knowledge, the reality is that I will drop out, okay? So these are the kind of things that we have been thinking about in terms of learning. And they're very, very important because if we don't gamify the right things, if we don't gamify that process and what we know about how people learn, the reality is that we're not going to make any impact. So first of all, let's understand what we need to gamify in order to get that return on investment. And it cannot be just a game, just something fun. It needs to cover the whole barometer of the models that I've been showing. So what does this mean, okay? So what does the future of gamification mean to us at Growth Engineering? Well, we kind of sum it up really simply. We call it the engagement triangle. And what it's basically saying is that, yes, gamification is important. I asked you the question, who loves games? Who thinks games could, change the world, gaming mechanics? We all do, right? Of course gamification's up there, right? But gamification within an educational context, okay, has to have other elements. The first thing it has to have is social. Because going back to the theory of self-determination, you need to have relatedness. Going back to Bloom's taxonomy, you need to have a situation where you are able to discuss, analyze, and comprehend. So without social, Gamification is not as powerful. So what we need to do is we need to take gamification and we need to overlay it over social. The more you talk about what you've learned, the more you've shared about what you've learned, the more you comprehend and exhibit how you are displaying that new activity, the more you will be rewarded. And the final thing, which is really, really important, is this idea of epic meaning and story. Okay? So we heard about Zombies Run. It's a story. You get wrapped up in the story. But epic meaning is something that companies have buckets of. And it's all about their mission and their values and the people that they attract to their organization that fundamentally buy in to those values. Yeah? And what we want to do with our learning technology solution is go, okay, GSK, you're going to make the world a better place by saving lives. You know, World Health Organization are on a mission to save 3 billion people. L'Oreal, you know, beauty is life, whatever it is. We want to tap into these things to say, look, learning is a journey. You want to be part of this community. You want to be part of delivering this, you know, better world, which could be all about beauty, it could be all about whatever it might be. But that epic meaning is really, really important because it takes you along. The story takes you along in terms of wanting to carry on that journey. Because remember, we're putting in systems that are going to last for years and years and years. You know, we don't really have clients that leave unless they go bankrupt. So there needs to be an epic journey that they're going on. They can have a series of campaigns, but ultimately this is an epic journey we're trying to take them on via gamification. So the issue is with social is that without social, you cannot change behavior. So we fundamentally believe that you have to gamify the element of social because social is the bridge from knowledge to behavior. So we have been asked by clients to do one-off games. And yes, that's interesting. Yes, that is, you know, one-off campaigns are interesting. But the reality is if you're not reinforcing that with a social component, you won't actually make an impact with your learning in the long term. Yes, people will love it. Yes, people will want to do it. Yes, people will gravitate towards it. But will they remember it? No. Why? Because of the forgetting curve, okay? So social has to be a part of the gamified learning experience. The second thing is we have to have epic meaning. If we're going to use stuff like streaks and scorecards, so we're encouraging people to go in every single day, there needs to be a reason why. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the World Health Organization. They have a bold goal to save 3 billion lives. So every time they log in and they get their XP, that is combined with the overarching mission. The more XP you get, the quicker we're going to get to the goal. Because why? Because the more we learn, the more we share, the more we know, the better impact we are going to make in our jobs, right? So we need to make that epic meaning and that connection really, really simple to understand. Because we want them to want to learn. A lot of the type of apps and platforms we put in, the people aren't necessarily working for those organizations. So for L'Oreal, for example, they're not working for L'Oreal. They're working for the local, you know, airport or whatever. But, you know, they're absolutely, you know, one and the same. They feel like My Beauty Club, which is their app, is their home. In Peru, they spend 47 minutes on average a day in this app. They belong to this app. This is part of their community, even though they don't even work for L'Oreal. Because what they see and what they hear, what they learn, what they share, all dovetails in to that epic meaning and that vision and mission. In terms of gaming mechanics, one of the things that we've learned is it's all about layering. It's all about layering and it's all about timing. So the more gaming mechanics we use, the better, but it does definitely depend on where you are in the learning journey. So for example, at the beginning, we know from the work of Ralph Costa, for example, that when you start a gamified journey, you want to get lots of rewards very quickly. And as we level up, it should be getting harder. So we're therefore spacing that out. The other thing that's been very helpful is stuff like streaks has been particularly powerful as well, because we do want people going in every single day. The other thing is we've started to see quite a lot of is the use of games, but not wrapped around the subject narrative. So people like playing games, and they are very likely to come on our platforms and do a sustained amount of learning activity if, once they get to a certain level, they level up and get a fun game. So it's a different way of using games that is not necessarily intertwined with the content, because people really love it. So then the conversations they have are around what level are you on and how quickly are you moving through some of these some of this content. The other thing is that we're doing a lot in and around exploration. So this is basically, hide and seek in terms of you need to go around and meet certain people, you need to go around and find certain people. But again, it all opens up into traditional pieces of learning. And there's also a social element in there as well. The other thing, and I'm sure most of you have actually, had a play. Battle of the Brains is something that we introduced because we know compliance is important in corporates. We all have to do information security, health and safety. We all have to do induction, okay? But nobody likes to be tested by central HR. Nobody likes that, yeah? So how do you just flip it on its head and say, okay, well, you're not being tested by me, you're being tested by your mates. And we have found battles to just be insane. So if you're launching a new battle pool, that will happen, let's say, once every month, and people really, really gravitate towards it. And again, it goes back to this idea of repetition, 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 until the knowledge has been assimilated and your behavior is changing. But it's just a fun way of doing it. It's no different than what HR departments have had to do before, but it's just delivered in a fun way. So I wanted to share this case study with you on the world that we've been working on the World Health Organization, primarily because over 16 years of working with some phenomenal clients, I don't think I personally have ever been touched by a project so much. We actually have a video on the work that we did, and I was lying in bed when it came into my inbox, and I looked at it and I just burst into tears. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that we have got the opportunity to work on a project like this. So I really wanted to share with you, and I wanted you to meet Gaya as well, who is the head of learning and development for World Health Organization. So I want to introduce you to the epic meaning, okay, behind this app. So they've got a new director general, and for the first time he's African. And it was kind of like when Obama was voted in. This is a huge, huge thing for the World Health Organization. And he clarified what he was looking for the World Health Organization to do, which was very boldly to make an impact on 3 billion lives. Yes, that's 3 billion lives. And they were going to do that directly by saving lives. They were going to do it by education, and they were going to do it by influencing universal healthcare. So everybody was super excited. They were like, my God, this is absolutely fantastic. Now what? Okay? So they came to us and they go, look, we need to have something that our leaders can, communicate with on a daily basis. They can have fun, and it can drive this 3 billion. Okay, so that's really where we came in. So the objective is very, to first of all, they have a set of processes. So when Ebola strikes, right, what happens is there's an emergency response. The emergency response cut their way with machetes through that's the SAS part, the logistics part of the health organization. Then the nurses go in, they solve the drama, but of course, then what happens, right? They've got nowhere of sharing that knowledge as it happens in real time. Then Ebola breaks out somewhere else, and they've got no way of basically sharing that knowledge and understanding what they should do. The other thing is that process is everything. Because the World Health Organization relies on external funders, unless they're following a certain process, they're not going to get the money quick enough. And it's all about speed in order to save lives, okay? So people need to know the process, they need to be able to communicate quickly what they're seeing and doing on the ground, and they need to be able to share it so others can follow. So this is really the objective of the app. And this is the wonderful Gaia. I mean, even her name says it, right? Mother of the Earth. So here I'm just going to...
The World Health Organization is the United Nations Specialized Agency for Health. And for more than 70 years, we've been working with countries all across the world to help them keep their people healthy and safe. We work in areas such as nutrition, maternal child health, preventing and managing HIV/AIDS, TB, malaria, and other diseases. More recently, we're working on helping people stay healthy and protected from cardiovascular disease, from diabetes, from cancers. And increasingly, we're working in health emergencies, in epidemics, in humanitarian crises, and different emergencies caused by health hazards. For the next 5 years, the World Health Organization has committed to helping 3 billion people. That's billion with a B. We expect through our work that 1 billion people will have access to health care that they can afford. We expect another billion people to be living healthy, happy lives. And last but not least, we want to keep 1 billion people safe from health emergencies. I have the best job at the World Health Organization. I work in the Health Emergencies Program, where I lead all learning, training, capacity building. Our mission is to make sure that everybody who works in health emergencies, in prevention, in response, in recovery, whether they're our staff or people who work alongside us or ministries of health, we want them to have the knowledge, the skills, and all the competencies they need to help protect that 1 billion from health emergencies. Over the last few years, we've invested a lot of time and energy into helping health personnel working in emergencies gain the competencies they need, the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes. But our frontline workers face a lot of challenges. They work in remote areas where there's low bandwidth, sometimes there's no internet. They don't have time to pour through reams and reams of material. They don't have the luxuries that we have. And therefore, it's very important when we are helping them learn and to gain the competencies they need, we think about how they will use the information. And that's why we're turning to technology more and more. We have a lot of our learning programs on the Open WHO platform. This is a low bandwidth platform. People can access this. It's very easy. We know that more than 190 countries are accessing this platform. In the first 2 years of its existence, more than 150,000 course registrations are there for more than 60 courses, and most importantly, in more than 30 languages. We want people to access information in the formats they want, according to their preference, in languages they want, and obviously low bandwidth, and of course using an app off the grid. The My Billion Learning app is going to really revolutionize how we work. This app is primarily intended for our leadership trainees. So we have staff and partners across the world who are enrolled into our leadership program, Leadership in Health Emergencies program. This program is a 12-month program. It has face-to-face component, but there's a lot that happens outside the classroom training. There's online learning, there's coaching that happens, there's practice deployments. What we really are missing is a way to keep our cohorts, our participants engaged throughout the 12 months and for them to be learning from each other. Social learning is extremely important, and this app, I think, will help all of our participants stay engaged, stay connected to each other, learn with each other, and create that bond and network that is going to serve them when they work in the terrible conditions that they have to during emergencies. This app should be easy to use. It should be fun. It should be relevant. It should connect everybody. It should just be something that people really look forward to going on to at the end of the day or during the day. It should really speak for itself. It should be a learning center, a center where they can meet their colleagues and friends, a place where they can solve problems, and a place where they can see how they're progressing in their learning.
So one of the really interesting things is, because I kicked this project off in Jordan with them a couple of weeks ago, was When people are in health emergency situations, when they're, combating stuff like Ebola and, it is really, really hardcore work. So there was a community there, that are working under horrendous conditions in Syria. And that gamification element to the app brought a ray of sunshine in a real hellish day. So yes, it's good to have a community, but it's also good to have the gamification for them because it just takes their mind off some of the things that they've been going through, on a daily basis. So that is, in terms of looking to the future, one of the things that's been quite interesting is the work that we've been doing in the corporate space is also, moving more into the education space. So this is a pilot that we're doing with the American school system. And what they're doing is they're actually putting the gamified authoring tool, Genie, into the hands of the kids. And they're saying, right, this is the knowledge that your teachers have given you. Now I want you to create games to push that out to your cohort. So a hugely exciting, thing there where you're actually giving, the kids the opportunity to take control of their own destiny and really create games that their fellow students are going to love. So that's it from me. If you've got any questions, I'd be delighted to answer them.